1, 2, 3, Slaughter Me Street, an indie horror classic that used to be relatively popular on YouTube and Steam. After the second game came out though, interest for the series started to die out a bit, as there were several rumors about the third games and whole series cancellation. However, during 2019, a remake of the first game with updated visuals, gameplay, graphics, and new threats was announced. The remake of the first game has continued on and off development up to today. However, the remake entitled Evolutions will not be what truly sparked the revival of the series. On August 23rd, 2023, a new Slaughter Me Street game would be released, known as 123 Slaughter Me Street Super Retro. Along with it, a demo for a spin-off game at the end of 2023. This is the revival of Slaughter Me Street. Slaughter Me Street Super Retro is a remake of the original Retro game. The game contains a story mode in which you are guided by the puppet known as Gomez on your controls. You can only walk forwards and flash your enemies to prevent them from getting the jump on you with your trusty flashlight. However, there is a battery system that will deplete over time, so you must use your batteries sparingly. In Super Retro, there are 16 floors throughout the story mode in which you encounter the follower, who randomly run up behind the player and must be flashed. The greeter, who will appear at any of the doors in front of the player and must also be flashed. The waiter, who will show an exclamation point above his door before you pass it, the player having to flash the door backwards after passing it. And finally, the hunter, who was a cut character from both of the first Slaughter Me Street games. He will charge the player from the front, with you having to use the flashlight on him before he reaches you. At the end of several levels, there is sometimes a boss fight with the Nightmare, who will mock the player before charging them from either side, needing to be flashed a couple of times before being defeated. After the story mode, there's also an endless mode that is unlocked, that is endless like it says. But every level has 4 main enemy swap gameplay styles. You can also gain loot crates along with the option to shop for cosmetics. Oh yeah, and Pink Follower from the original Retro game can also show up as an Easter egg. Overall, it's a really good remake of the first Retro game that is very addictive on Endless, with a pretty good pixel art style. I particularly think that the waiter and the hunter sprite look really good. It's really nice to see the hunter finally show up in a Slaughter Me Street game. But let's get to the game that actually made me want to make this video. Slaughter Me Street 1999's demo was released on December 31st, 2023. It has since received several updates, a Steam release for the demo, and a trailer for the game, revealing it'll release in fall this year. As of the making of this video, this game is still only a demo, and we will be covering the most recent version of it on Steam. Since the game is going to be much longer and more complex already than Super Retro, I'll be covering it in different segments. Upon starting up Slaughter Me Street 1999, you're given the option of selecting between 2 game modes, Normal Mode and Challenge Mode. We will start with the levels in Normal Mode, of which there's only one in the demo out of the 5 that will be in the final game, the House. There are 5 difficulties for this level that will apply for every level in the final game. Easy, Normal, Hard, Nightmare, and Slaughter, all which have progressively harder advances, making the final mode, Slaughter, head-smashingly difficult. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the House. The House is the first level in 1999. It is a recreation of the House from 2 with several changes, first being the addition of an attic, more crawl spaces / vents, a bigger backyard and garage, and a bunker behind the shed. Something about this level and the whole game I forgot to mention already is its art style. The game's art style is inspired by old PlayStation games like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, containing a low poly style that can have pixels added to its settings. It is honestly one of my favorite parts of the game. It just makes everything stand out so much from the other 2 Slaughter Me Street games, and is a really nice aesthetic choice. Along with the house's map being similar to the one from Slaughter Me Street 2, the gameplay and enemies are also almost exact to it, containing mostly the same enemies, which will be talked about in another segment. The gameplay takes place in phases like 2, with pregame that lasts us 99 seconds until the player picks up a relic, Seek, which will slowly spawn in enemies as you collect relics, or spawn them in all at the same time depending on the difficulty, and Exit, in which you must exit out the door farthest from you. Collecting 7 relics and exiting is how you'll be able to beat every normal level. There are many other differences to 1999's gameplay that make it stand out from Slaughter Me Street 2. For instance, there's a quick turn behind you, the flashlight you use has a stun ability on it, allowing you to stun enemies. There are batteries that you can pick up throughout the house to recharge your flashlight instantly instead of charging it in a safe zone. and if you go into a safe zone while being followed by an enemy, it will become compromised. Oh, and on the topic of safe zones, you can also peek from left or right of the safe zones to see what enemy is coming near. And on the topic of enemies, I should probably get back to them. It's time for a little bit of a reintroduction to the enemies from Slaughter Machine 2. The main 3 demons from Slaughter Machine 2 have new updated designs in 1999. They're basically just their redesigns that will show up in Evolutions 2, but low poly. First, let's take a look at the Seeker, who now has a design more similar to how he looked in the concept art of 2. He will patrol throughout the house, and upon seeing the player will pursue them, like every enemy. However, he isn't the brightest and can be evaded without having to use the stun occasionally. Cannot enter the vents in the house, but he can break their covers, and if the player goes from one side to the other side, he will follow. Oh yeah, there's also a rare chance Seeker will spawn in, colored white with black eyes. This Easter egg is known as the Yeti. Then there's the greeter Stalker. Her name was changed to that a while back. Along with most attributes of her design, she now has wings, 3 horns, spiked legs, and some more pink fur on her chest. Stalker has always been my favorite Slaughter Machine character, but these updates to her design make me love her even more. I can't wait to see these new features and evolutions. The Stalker works almost the same as the Seeker, however she is much smarter, not giving up her chase for a while. She can also crawl through the vents in the house. And lastly, we have the Screamer, who is much smaller than before. When spotting the player, he will attempt to scream, alerting the other demons of your position. However, flashing him can prevent that. Finally, there's one more enemy who will be in every level 99 who is summoned upon collecting every relic in the house, the Nightmare. After collecting every relic, 2 of the 3 exits in the map will be blocked off by the Nightmare's blood brambles, and Nightmare himself will spawn at the only exit the player can leave through. He's very quick, can crawl through vents, destroys every safe zone when he spawns in, and can also fly. So make sure you have enough stamina to get to that exit before succumbing to the Nightmare. Oh yeah, also his new design is awesome. After beating the level once, you can now go back and collect tokens in all of the difficulties. Collecting tokens will unlock challenges in the challenge mode. As of this video, there are only 4 challenges in the challenge mode, with 1 extra one that will be in the final game. The 4 challenges in the demo are Lights Out, Empty Nester, Beast on a Leash, and Claustrophobia. In Lights Out, it functions as a nod to the Lights Out mode in Slaughter Machine 2, removing all of the lights in the house map. There are scarce batteries and no safe zones. After collecting every relic, the Nightmare does not spawn in it, with only the main 3 demons being the threat in this challenge. In Empty Nester, the player starts in the attic, having to escape the house while being pursued by the demons and the Nightmare through the whole level. Several paths are blocked off from the player, and combined with constantly having to run and stun, it makes it a very stressful challenge. Beast on a Leash, the challenge is remotely the same as the house, with one big difference. Nightmare spawns in after you collect the very first relic, and after collecting every relic, a second Nightmare spawns in. Yeah, this challenge is probably the hardest in the demo. And finally, there's Claustrophobia, the final challenge in the demo. Claustrophobia takes place in a completely unique area with an underground area that has several vents. You must collect 5 tokens and escape. Yet again, Nightmare doesn't appear at the end of this level. The enemies of this level are Stalker and 3 droppers. Oh yeah, the Dropper, also known as Gomez. He's the only puppet enemy that has appeared in the demo so far. He can scream to alert the other enemies like Screamer, along with being able to fly through the vents. He also is a silly goober. And so far, that is it for 1999, and Super Retro. Though with this new game on the horizon, seasonal updates for Super Retro, and some new teasers for Evolutions, I'd say the future for the revival of Slaughter Machine is looking very good. Thank you all for watching.